News Voice is the world's first mobile app that helps you track where your news is coming from. News Voice helps you track what corporate interests might be influencing the narratives in the news you read every day. Arm yourself against corporate media monopolies by downloading the News Voice app for free using the link right underneath this video. Okay, I really need everybody to understand this because this is so important. The strategy by Donald Trump of saying that the election will be unfair and rigged is working. If it wasn't convincing anybody, we could ignore it. It might be no big deal, but it is working. Donald Trump has convinced 65% of Republican voters that the upcoming election might not be fair. This is a poll based on more than 44,000 U.S. adults with a 1% margin of error. Now, here's what makes this really tricky. 65% of Republicans question whether the election will be fair. 46% of Democrats also aren't confident that the election will be fair. But the devil is in the details because the concerns about fairness from Republicans are very different than the concerns about fairness from the Democrats. And it really comes down to understanding these details. Republicans who think the election might not be fair are falling for what Donald Trump has been saying, which is mail-in ballots will be riddled with fraud. We won't know the election results for a long time. They are rigging it. That's what the Republican voters have fallen for. Democrats, on the other hand, are worried that Trump is making the election not fair by breaking the post office, by filing lawsuits, by trying to suppress the vote, so on and so forth. Preventing vote by mail, purging voter rolls, doing all of the things that Republicans have been doing for decades to try to win elections by suppressing the vote. So these are not asymmetrical concerns. If you glance at the numbers and you say, okay, well, it seems like Republicans and Democrats are basically in agreement, just to slightly different degrees. 46% of Dems think the election might be unfair. 65% of Republicans, no big deal, slight party difference. The reasons why they think there might not be fairness are what is so dramatically different. And what you have to understand in order to really synthesize this properly is the history of voter suppression. Historically, Democrats try to increase voter turnout, period. They just say if more people vote, we're better off in general. Republicans have employed a strategy of trying to limit voter turnout in very particular and specific ways. Polling shows that it's Trump who will most likely or more likely need foul play in order to win. Democrats simply want the election to happen. They want everybody who wants to vote to get to vote, and they want every single one of those votes to be counted. And it's true, if that happens, it's better for Joe Biden. We know that to be true. The president is the one who realizes that he might need voter fraud and voter suppression to win, as I told you in the last segment. And the scariest thing is that it's working for Donald Trump. Our concern for a long time has been, if it's close in November and Trump claims it was rigged, and it activates his followers, many with their guns, to hit the streets, that could get very ugly and it could happen very quickly. It could happen within hours of whenever Trump claims the rigging took place. So when we hear that there are, gaps in the confidence people have in our voting systems, we can't forget that one side is the side that tries to lower turnout in order to win, meaning a ton of Trumpists are happy that the election might not be fair. This has always been the point of attacking it, and this is why it will continue unless we stop it. This is how it starts. This is how you weaponize people to hit the streets, maybe with guns, to demand that you be kept in power. These are not inconsequential or trivial matters. Now, what can we do? If you want to find out how and where you can vote early, check out the page called Early Voting by State on vote.org. We're linking to that page in the description to the YouTube video for this story. And you will very quickly see that every state is different. Here in Massachusetts, for example, early voting starts 11 days before. This is in-person early voting. Starts 11 days before the election. In Michigan, it starts 45 days before the election. We're getting close to that. In Florida, early voting starts at least 10 days before the election, if not earlier. So understand that. Understand what the rules are for voting absentee in your state. You probably, in most states, you probably already can request an absentee ballot. I've already done it. I've received my primary ballot for the September 1st election. And sometime after September 1st, I'm going to be receiving my absentee ballot for the general election in November. Understand all of these things, figure out how you plan to vote, and then let's activate whoever we can and make sure that people that are already on our side plan to vote, particularly when, Trump wants to make it difficult to vote. But the reality is in most states, it's actually easier than ever to vote with early voting, with expanded absentee ballot access. There's no excuse for not voting this time around. And many people, metaphorically, this time around, are willing to crawl over broken glass in order to vote. Some would literally do it. I'm using it metaphorically.